What's going on, guys? So today is Wednesday, February 7th, which, who knows, by the end of this day it might be known as LeBron James Memorial All-Time Scoring Leader Day. So yeah, that's going on. The Lakers are playing the Thunder tonight, so he has a chance. If he's I think he's like 36 points away. So if he breaks that record, I'll talk about that probably tomorrow, the day after. But that's not what this video is about, because I'm not 100% sure he's going to do that. So what this video is about is UFC. I believe it's UFC 284, with the main event being Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. I was asked about this fight a couple days ago in the sauna at LA Fitness, and someone said, "Hey, so like, what do you think about Islam versus Volkanovski?" And I sat there and thought about it a little bit. I said, I really don't know what's going to happen. So in that fight, Islam Makhachev, who's the lightweight champion of the world, and Alexander the Great Volkanovski, who is the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world, who originally is the featherweight champion, 145 versus 155. They're going to be fighting for the lightweight title and essentially for the #1 pound for pound ranking. And the odds for that fight, Islam Makhachev is the 3-1 favorite over Volkanovski, comes from the featherweight, the smaller guy. Now, if you guys don't know who Islam Makhachev is, he's basically the second coming of Khabib Nurmagomedov, who has an argument, great case, revered by a lot. It's either him or John Jones. If you're a UFC fan, you say it's the greatest fighter of all time. Of course, there's GSPs in there, maybe even Kamaru Usman. But for the most part, it's either you think it's John Jones. Probably the majority think John Jones. And then there's those group who says Khabib, just because on his record he's never lost. But we all know John Jones has never lost either. And Volkanovski, who is at this point, I can comfortably say, the greatest featherweight fighter of all time. I don't think there's anybody at 145 in the history of 145, maybe prime McGregor, but he's the greatest featherweight of all time. And so he's moving up to 155 to fight Islam. But what a lot of people don't know too is that Volkanovski, when he played rugby before he joined the UFC, and he weighed over 200 pounds. So he's used to carrying a lot of weight, and he's what you would call like a meat missile. Like, he's like a little stock. He's about 5'5", and probably naturally walks around like 180, just all muscle, just super explosive. Like, I think the biggest thing about his game is explosion. The biggest thing about Makhachev's game is his dominance just in wrestling. His sambo, that Dagestan Russian Khabib camp style pressure of wrestling, where you just smother and suffocate your opponents and basically make them quit. Now, the thing that goes into play about that is infighting, wrestling, and to be more specific, it's harder to keep someone who has a lower center of gravity than you on the ground. You know? So if you're fighting a little guy and you tackle him, he's going to somehow like be able to pop up easier than it would be if you were able to wrap someone who's bigger around the legs and get them to the ground, because you have a lower center of gravity, and in wrestling that gives you the advantage. And also too, you got to shoot lower to try to take someone out who's shorter than you. It makes just common sense, and it's a tougher thing to do. So Volkanovski has that going for him, along with the explosive. He's just so explosive, man. I think he's the best I think I might ever seen. Let me see. In distance control. And not like the distance control where John Jones is just longer than everybody and just sticks his arm out. He can touch you, you can't touch him. Yeah, that's, of course, distance control. But what I mean, because he's a shorter guy, he has the long arms for his size. But what I mean distance control, he darts in and out of his attacks so quick. He'll pop, pop, pop. He knows exactly when to shoot in on you and hit you, especially standing up, and when to come back to where you can't hit him. And so, like, I'll see, and of course the thing when everyone fights Islam, you're not as aggressive on the feet because you know that the closer you get to him, the higher chance you have at him taking you down. And you just don't even want to go through that. Even if you do have an easier chance getting up if you're a Volkanovski, you just don't even you want to avoid that sequence of having to either defend a takedown or having to get up from being taken down from Islam Makhachev as much as you as possibly can. Like you see in his last fight with Oliveira, he's known for he'll throw a flying knee at someone in the middle of an exchange or up against the cage. You don't do that to Makhachev because he's going to hold on to you, and it's the best way I can put it. It's a bitch trying to get up, get that guy off you once he gets a hold of you. Okay, now one thing about this fight. This has a chance of being the greatest fight in UFC history. And I'm going to say that why. I'm going to tell you why. Both of these guys, in their own way, have a chance at being, when they're retired, when it's all said and done, at being the greatest UFC fighter of all time. Both will have an argument if they keep at the trajectories they're on, and a lot of it depending on how this fight goes. So Volkanovski is already the greatest featherweight of all time. He has the longest active win streak in the UFC. I think it's 12 fights. And Makhachev has 11 active. Excuse me. So Volkanovski beats Islam. He has the lightweight title, becomes a coveted champ, which only Henry Cejudo has done. And Conor McGregor was the first one to do it. The champ status. And I don't think he'll be done. I think he'll dibble dabble and try to defend both at the same time. He's a different beast. He's not gonna. Cejudo did it and then left the sport. It looked like he wants to come back. McGregor did it. Went to go fight Floyd after. Fought Nate. Yeah. So, but he seems like the type of guy. The way he's going to defend. Try to defend both a couple times. And so we see Adesanya tried to do that. He couldn't do it. So if he does that successfully, say he defends the lightweight, beats Makhachev. This is like, I'm skipping a lot, like, because he has his hands full already with Islam. Say he defends Makhachev, defends the title against, say he beats Oliveira next, beats Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, goes back down to 145. Beats there's a prelim, I forget. I know it's Yair Rodriguez. He's fighting somebody. Say he beats Yair Rodriguez, the guy he's fighting as well. And it's just like, dude, this guy dominated 2 weight classes. He's gonna definitely have an argument. So that's one side of the coin as far as this fight of like his GOAT argument that he's on the trajectory to. Islam Makhachev. I know he comes from under Khabib. If you take everything into consideration, skill-wise, size, athleticism, Islam Makhachev is probably the better fighter than Khabib. If you watch him where they were both in their careers, if you watch the stand-up game, Islam's a better striker. I think Khabib might put more pressure on you, but I think Makhachev, when I see him fight guys, he's more dominant. He's getting guys out of there quick. Like, it's ridiculous what he's doing to guys. Like, it's his fight with Bobby Green. I don't even think Bobby Green got the chance to throw a punch. Versus when I saw the fight with Gaethje and Khabib. Khabib's last fight, so him at his peak, his last fight with Gaethje. Gaethje's a hell of a fighter. And Khabib was in some real trouble in that fight. He was taking some damage. He was chasing. He wanted to, of course, he was just better than Gaethje and got him out of there. But he was taking some leg kicks. He was in real. Go back and watch that fight. He was getting clipped a couple times, but he was just, his whole father dying. He was possessed by something that day. But he couldn't. I'm sure he had a hard time walking after that fight. And I don't think it would have went like that with Makhachev. I think Islam would have moved out the way, and Islam's a bigger guy. He's a 3, like I said before, he's a 3-1 favorite. So he's technically supposed to handle Volkanovski pretty easy technically. If he beats Volkanovski, I'm looking at the rest of the lightweight field. He's beaten Charles Oliveira, who's already ran through Poirier. Did he beat Gaethje? He beat Michael Chandler, Poirier. and Gaethje. So it's like, who's left at 155? You got to think about that. Who's left at 155 for Islam? And Islam's a big dude. Islam can move up to 170 and maybe have his own case at champ. So you see, he comes from under Khabib, who's known as the greatest ever to a lot. Islam's better. So that's his case at the GOAT status. So I don't think we've ever seen a fight where both guys fighting have a chance of being pound for pound the greatest UFC fighter of all time. And Volkanovski's a dog. I want to see him win. My heart's telling me Volkanovski. But if you told me where to put my money in this fight, I'm going to have to go with Islam Makhachev. Not 3-1 favorite. It's not just a no-brainer for me because I know everything that Volkanovski has. I know the pros and cons for him. The stuff he has going for himself that the previous guys Makhachev has fought didn't have going for themselves. But just look at the whole total package, the capability, the skill level, just everything. You got to go with Makhachev.